Hello, 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 ladies. It is Coach Steph. I haven't been live in a while. So, welcome, ladies. I am going to be talking about emotional spiraling today and how you can beat that self sabotage because this happens. So, if it happens to you, it's fine. You're not alone. I'm getting this content directly from some of my clients. So, I'm super excited to chat with you guys about this today. So, I want to know, do you have this emotional spiraling that happens when you're triggered in your health journey? Let me know in the comments. So, I'm going to go over today what this looks like. I'm going to go over some of the common triggers that I see in terms of my clients. And then I'm going to help you to decide what you can do about it. Because sometimes we see ourselves as one way. We might see ourselves as an emotional eater or someone who just doesn't stay on track or just doesn't stay consistent, as if we do not have control over this. And that is not true. You have ultimate control, but a lot of times we just don't sit down to actually workshop and figure out, what could I do about this if this is something that I don't want to continue to do? So I'm going to talk about that today. So if you are watching live, say hello to me in the comments. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay and let me know that you're watching. If you hear anything that resonates with you, that means that how I kind of describe resonance is the truth that's inside of you recognizes the truth outside of you, meaning like something that I say or an example that I give. And if that's something that is happening when you're listening to my lives, when you're watching my content, you might be a perfect fit for the Fit Figure formula. I'm so excited to announce that I am going evergreen. What that means is instead of you having to wait for the 3 times that I launch the group program and come in only during those 3 times, I'm now open year round. And that is so exciting because that means when you're ready, and ready is not a feeling, by the way. Actually, I need to do a podcast about that. But when you decide that it's time to get some professional help and to transform your mindset, your body, and your lifestyle, you can come in at any time. Now, I am doing a special promo for the first 5 ladies who are signing up with our evergreen enrollment. So I'm so excited to offer this promo. Is something that I have never done before. Like, this is probably the biggest promo that I've done. So if you have been wanting to work with me, now is the time. You can come into the group of ladies who are already in session. You'll just roll in. We have calls Mondays and Thursdays. All of them are recorded. You get support in between calls, and we have a great time while transforming our mind and our body. So check out the show notes and go ahead and click the link and apply. So I'm going to jump in to my notes. Y'all let me know if you have any questions at all. I would love to answer your questions as I go through these. So first of all, I want to talk about your triggers. So it is so important for you to identify your triggers. That means you need to know the things that kind of set you off. Emotionally spiraling is not just something that just happens and we have no idea where it comes from or how it started. I don't know is a self-sabotaging thought. Okay. So I want you to really think about when this happens to me, when I start emotionally spiraling out of control and I start procrastinating or just being mindless about my fitness journey, what's the trigger? So some of the most common ones that I see my clients struggling with are, number 1, the scale. You might get on the scale and it doesn't say the number that you thought it was going to say. And now you just kind of throw everything out the window. And this happens the most with my ladies who prefer not to weigh themselves, but once every so often, right? So maybe they will weigh themselves at the beginning and they're like, oh, I don't really want to weigh myself. I don't want to see it. I just want to do my habits. I just want to feel good. Once they start feeling good and they get into a routine and they're consistent and they feel like they're making better choices in terms of their nutrition, they're like, oh, okay, I want to get on the scale. And then sometimes when the scale doesn't say what you thought it was going to say, whether that thought was realistic or not, it can cause some spiraling. So if that's you, understand that the scale can be a trigger for you. And what I typically have my clients do when this happens, I actually have them weigh themselves more often versus less often, because I think that sometimes when you get on the scale and then you wait like 3 weeks or 4 weeks and you just expect to see a different number and you didn't weigh yourself for the last 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes it can be like a shocker versus you weighing yourself more often and being able to see the trend. Now, if you're the person who really has a visceral reaction to the scale, like messes up your day, what I'll have my clients do sometimes is literally get on the scale without looking at it to practice desensitizing their nervous system to getting on the scale and then getting off and then going on about their day. And honestly, that has really helped a few of my clients where they just practice getting on the scale and then they don't look at it and then they just continue to go on about their day. So, but what I have my clients do who are okay with weighing themselves more often is Wednesdays and Saturdays, we weigh, they put it in to my coaching system and we track it that way. So the scale can be a big trigger. So if the scale is a big trigger for you, you can put me in the comments. Is this a trigger for you? When the scale goes up or it just doesn't say what you thought it was going to say, is this a trigger for you? Let me know in the comments if you're watching the replay. So another trigger that might contribute to emotional spiraling is compliments. Now, this one you might not have necessarily thought of. I've had clients in the past who, when they get compliments about how good they look or their progress, they start to self-sabotage. And sometimes it's because they feel like they don't deserve the compliment or deserve their goal. And then sometimes it's like a reward type of thing where they're like, oh, I've been doing so good. I'm making progress. Other people are noticing. And let me see how much food I can get away with having without ruining the progress that I already have. Right. So there's kind of like two different schools of thought there. But sometimes compliments can actually send you in the wrong direction. So I really want to, if this is you, I want you to think about, why would a compliment send me in the wrong direction? Why would that make me start to self-sabotage? And I think it's really important that you know yourself, you know your history, and you can kind of self-evaluate. And what you need to be evaluating is your deep belief about what you deserve, what you want, what you can have, and what you can hold on to. Meaning, like, sometimes a win, abundance, a reward is sometimes hard for us to just sit with. We would rather struggle sometimes. And that it goes deep in terms of like why that might be. So I really want you to think about, when someone gives you a compliment, do you feel like you can just go ham because now people are noticing and now you don't have to be as strict with yourself? Do you start to think like, oh my God, they're complimenting me and I don't know if I deserve this. What if I fail in the future and then they've complimented me, but then later on I gain the weight back and then I'm going to be embarrassed? Like, is that you? Clearly overthinking it, right? And I get it. I totally get it. But understand that that might be a trigger for you. So it's very important that you understand what your triggers might be. So we talked about the scale, about compliments. And then a third really common one is comparison. So a lot of times my clients will be scrolling on Instagram, or they may know someone who lost a bunch of weight doing keto or something. And they're like, they're comparing their journey to someone else's and believing that whatever the results that they have created is not enough, or that it's not going fast enough and they want to go faster. So what happens is then they start doing things that are unsustainable to get there faster, only to not be able to complete that long term and then end up in a worse situation than they started. So comparison is such a thief of your joy, and it's a thief of the wins that you are creating. And it's really important that you keep your eyes on your own paper, right? Just so remember from school, like you don't want to be peeking over and like looking and seeing what other people are doing, what results they're getting, because you have no idea what they're doing to sustain that. I always tell my clients it doesn't matter how much weight you can lose. Sure, you could go on an 800 calorie diet and lose a bunch of weight, but can you keep it off? Doesn't matter how much weight you can lose if you cannot keep it off. Very, very important. Okay. So we're in this for the long haul. We are in this for transitioning our identity into the woman that can create the result and keep it. So another really popular trigger is stress. Stress is a big one. In terms of career, I have a lot of career-driven women who are overachievers and are doing the most in their jobs, in their families, in their church. They are volunteering. They're doing all the things, and they wait until burnout, right, to take a break. And it's really important that you plan in what I call deload weeks. I just talked to my clients about this yesterday. It's really important that you do not wait until you have burnt out to take a break. Breaks need to be intentional. They need to be before you get so tired that you can't do a lot anymore, so that it is like chronically in your schedule and it comes up at a regular pace. And you might be feeling like, oh, you know what? I don't really need a break right now. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take one. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take one. You should not be taking rest for your body or your mental health only when you feel like you just can't carry on. You've gone too long without rest. And this is a great way to help you manage stress, whether it's in your job, your personal life, etc. But stress has been a huge trigger for emotional spiraling because we want to feel better, and some of us will turn to food because of that. Okay. So these are some of the most common triggers. If you can think of any others that may throw you off, put that in the comments. Would love to hear what you feel like your triggers might be. So what does emotionally spiraling look like? So one of the ways that it looks like F it mentality. I'm not making progress, or the scale went up, or I got this compliment, or I'm comparing myself, or I'm too stressed. And you know what? Just forget it. I'm just going to eat whatever I want because what I'm doing right now is not working. Right? So that is probably the primary way. And it just brings you back to what you really believe that you can have. It's just going back to a comfortable place. That comfortable place that's actually really uncomfortable for you, but your belief system will bring you right back. This is why in the Fit Figure Formula, we work on your beliefs about yourself, because the scale, compliments, comparison, stress doesn't have to mean that you're emotionally spiraling, but it's like, why are you choosing that? Because it is a choice. I know sometimes it feels like there's no choice. Like this is just what happens when I'm really stressed or when I compare. But think about the fact that there are so many other options. Why am I picking this one? Right? So it definitely does look like spiraling, eating your comfort food and just saying, you know what, forget this. This isn't worth it. I'm just going to eat whatever I want. It also can look like ignoring your health indicators. So things like your labs, right? Maybe your doctor told you that your A1C is creeping up, your cholesterol is a little bit high, and you're just kind of ignoring that. You're not going to go back to the doctor. You're just kind of waiting or pretending like it's not happening, right? Fatigue. I have so many clients who, when they start to fall off, they feel bad in their body. They're not energetic. They start to feel sluggish. They're not sleeping as well, and they start to feel really fatigued. Your body's sending you signals and messages all the time about, it's saying like, hey, something is going on here. Like you're not functioning optimally. Can we fix this? It's like a little signal, right? And it's a red light that's like blinking, And then there might be like an alarm with that red light, and then it gets louder and louder, and until you have to do something about it. So spiraling can look like ignoring your labs, ignoring the fact that you're really tired all of a sudden and you're not trying to fix that. It can also look like just not feeling good in your body. It can look like not fitting well in your clothes that you know that you used to fit now no longer fit, but you're like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore this for now. And I'm just going to put on my yoga pants and my big shirt. And I'm going to pretend like this is not happening. This is also emotionally spiraling, because what happens is things are just going to get progressively worse and worse until you have to be confronted with quote unquote starting over, which y'all know I don't believe you're starting over, but it feels like, oh my God, I've gained all the weight back and now I have to start over. And that's not a good feeling. It's not a good thought. That thought is not going to create a good vibration and feeling in your body. So emotionally spiraling also looks like ignoring the commitments that you have made to yourself. So not only are you ignoring your labs, your fatigue, your clothes not fitting, but you're also ignoring the commitments that you made, like the time that you planned, your usual walk or workout time. You're ignoring the knowledge that you have about choosing what foods to eat. So it's like, oh, I had this trigger, and even though I have some knowledge base about what foods I need to be eating, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and ignore the fact that I know better. You're ignoring your gym membership. You're just kind of being mindless when it comes to your habits. You've kind of just checked out, and it's almost like a numbing process, because I don't want to deal with the actual problem, the real trigger. So I'm just going to just ignore the entire thing until I feel better. And that will always keep you inconsistent. It's going to always keep you stopping and starting. I always tell my clients, when life is happening, when you have your trigger, number one, you can plan for your trigger. You can plan for setbacks and decide ahead of time what you're going to do in terms of setbacks. But then also you have to understand yourself, right? You have to understand how to get yourself to turn the corner quicker versus letting it linger for so long. And now months and months have gone by. Now you also feel guilty, and it just feels like you're pushing a big boulder up the hill. Okay. So the spiraling can also look like procrastinating on getting restarted, on just going to take the walk. You're just like, okay, well, yes, I know I need to restart. Let me just, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. So we have an active spiraling, which is like, F it, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And then we also have kind of more of a passive spiraling, where you're just ignoring your health indicators, you're ignoring the commitments to yourself, and you're just kind of procrastinating. You're not workshopping and figuring out, okay, here's my problem. What do I need to do to fix this? Right? And so this is what I like to do this in the Fit Figure formula, where I have a form for my clients to check in every Saturday to kind of just like reset yourself. If you do this with yourself every week, it's going to be a game changer, because you're not just letting weeks pass by without actually thinking through what happened, what went well, what did not, and how can I fix whatever did not go well. Okay. So what can you do to mitigate emotional spiraling? Because I don't even want to say you'll never have a spiral. Y'all, this is not about perfection. It's not about never having a moment where you're like, man, I really am not showing up the way that I want to. I want you guys to put that down. Do not think that you'll never have a negative thought, you'll never have an emotional eating episode, or that any of that means that you can't reach your goal, right? So in order for you to be able to mitigate a long spiral, one of the most helpful things that you can do is enter into a structured relationship. And this could look like getting a coach, getting a trainer. And I was going to say an accountability partner, but I see this a lot on Facebook where someone's like, hey, I need an accountability partner. They're just kind of like putting it out in like a big Facebook group, and people are like, oh yeah, I want to do that too. And all these people need accountability partners. But how can you have an accountability partner who also needs an accountability partner? So here you two are trying to hold each other accountable, but there's really no leverage to hold you accountable. It sounds nice at the beginning, but think about the times when you have gotten a coach or a trainer. Those workouts when you have a trainer are way harder than when you go in there and kiki with your friends. Okay. So entering into structured relationships, I am entering into a structured relationship with a coach or a trainer to make sure that I'm showing up, that I'm working hard, that I don't forget about why this is important to me. Those are the people when you get into a structured relationship, those are the times where you have the most success. And that is probably the biggest thing, especially when in the Fit Figure Formula, I'm not just going to be giving you workouts or telling you what to eat. I'm also going to be helping you develop your mindset, understanding how to manage your emotions, put together a plan for your lifestyle so that when life is lifing, you know exactly what to do. You know exactly how to handle yourself, and you can trust yourself inside of your health journey. This is one of the best ways for you to get rid of or to mitigate self-sabotage and emotional spiraling. Another way is just to start small. So a lot of times we always feel like it has to be all or nothing. I need to be doing all the things. I need to correct everything that I was doing wrong in day one, or else I can't start yet because all the pieces are not there yet. It is so much better for you to start small and do one thing out of the 10 versus trying to do all 10. I know it doesn't feel that way at the beginning. And it's almost like okay, well, I could just pick one and that would be too easy. Let me do like 8 things. And you feel like you can do it. Did you know that that's self-sabotage? It is self-sabotage to take on more, even when you feel like I can actually do it, and you may do it for a while. But I am telling you, when you need to restart, in your mind, you need to pick something that feels so easy that it feels like that's not going to help you reach your goal, because it needs to be something that you can do and you can continue to do. And that's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter if you pick up all 10 new habits that you need to do and you do it for a week. That does not matter, because week 2, week 3, week 4, you're probably not going to be doing all 10 of the things. I want you to pick 1 or 2 small things and just start creating momentum. And the thing is, you actually do feel better when you see that you've done a walk 2 days in a row. It actually does feel really good. You feel like you're making progress and creating some momentum. So starting small is another way to help you mitigate your emotional spiraling. And to be honest, you could be doing both at the same time. You could be kind of spiraling in one area, but holding on to something really small for you to feel like you're having some success at the same time. So they're not mutually exclusive necessarily. Okay. Also, calling it out. This is just a technique where you call out your own self-sabotage. Oh, I'm procrastinating right now. Oh, I'm ignoring the fact that I can't fit into these jeans anymore. Or I am, ignoring the reminders on my phone to drink water. Why am I doing that? Calling it out. Don't just ignore it. Don't just act as if it's not happening. Call it out in the moment and say, okay, why am I doing this? What would I rather do instead? And I love the technique of asking yourself questions instead of just being like, I just need to do this. I need to do better. No, ask yourself a question, because your brain will automatically start trying to figure out the answer when you ask yourself a question. And you will probably have better success at starting to take some action. So call out the self-sabotage in the moment and then start something small, right? Another really important thing is just to remember why this is important to you. Here's the thing. You need to know how to re-inspire yourself. If you do not know that, if you don't know how to quote unquote motivate yourself, and motivation to me is just the energy required to get started. If you don't know how to do that, the biggest thing that you can do right now in your health journey is to develop a deeper connection and relationship with yourself. If you were to ask me, what do I do? What are the steps that I know that for me I can follow when I'm in a slump? I can tell you exactly what works because I know myself. I've thought about this. When I'm doing well, what's happening? What thoughts am I thinking? How have I set up my environment for success? But when you don't really know yourself, you don't really have that relationship with yourself, you may not even trust yourself on your fitness journey, then you may not know what inspires you. I have people all the time come in my DMs and they're like, I'm just not motivated. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't tell you what motivates you. That's an inside job. You have to know what it is that gets you to take action. And I can help you. I can give you some ideas. We can kind of like workshop it and play around with it. But developing that relationship with yourself is so important. And this is why I have my clients do their power hour in the morning. And it's not an hour, it's just intentional time alone to think powerful thoughts on purpose and develop a relationship with yourself. And when you take this intentional time, it actually helps you in your real life when life is actually happening, because your brain can go back to that powerful place that it remembers that you have repeated over and over again and say, oh, what's my highest and best self? What would she be doing right now? What would she be thinking? Oh, okay. I know the answer to those questions because I've actually journaled about it. I've actually thought about it. I have created a framework for myself and I've gotten to know myself a little bit more. So one of the biggest and best things that you can do is develop a relationship with yourself so that you can trust yourself, because you can't get consistent without trust, so that you can love your current body all the way to your goal instead of hating it all the way to your goal, right? So that you can get self-disciplined. And discipline is a skill that you can actually learn. It's learnable, it's figure outable. And that is really encouraging when you think about it in that way, because sometimes we think about self-discipline as either we're self-disciplined or we're not. And there's no gray area. It's actually something that is learnable. So if this is something that you're struggling with in terms of developing a relationship with yourself so that it mirrors your relationship with food, with the scale, you know how to manage your emotions, you know how to manage your triggers, you should apply to join the Fit Figure Formula. Like I was mentioning earlier, we have evergreen enrollment, and the first 5 ladies who are enrolled in the evergreen process will get an incredible promo. So make sure that you either go to the show notes, go to my DMs. You can ask me any questions there, but you can check out the show notes and apply to join the Fit Figure Formula. So ladies, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I would love to help you. I would love to invite you into the Fit Figure Formula and help you guys to transform your mindset and your body. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll see you on the next live.